Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be looking at the new faction support event, which is to gather Clover tokens. There is a stash, there is a wheel, there are multiple ways to gather Clover tokens, and the main rewards for Clover tokens are the stash, which is just loads of different things, and aquamarine necklaces. Now this is a 3-week long event, so it lasts until the end of the month, the 31st. However, it lasts until the 28th in terms of your weekly rewards. We'll get into that in a second. First, we're going to check the stash, and the stash costs 380 Clover tokens to claim everything, and everything is quite decent. You get 200 legendary tokens, 28,000 silver ascendance medals, 8,000 5-star tokens, 5,000 4-star tokens, 2 bennies, which is obviously 5-star fodder to get your 6 stars into ascended, and a bunch of other trainers which could be useful for you if you are worried about your Lori potentially not being able to max her out in the couple of days we get to hand into the museum. So that's nice. As also, if you complete it all, you get a bonus Lilith, and I really like the fact that it's a Lilith, because Liliths are much more useful, and now I guess they're not hard to come by. You can get them in world maps and stuff, but it's kind of random, so it is nice to get your hands on a Lilith. Now the other part of it, and remember how much this costs, 380 for everything here. Now it does give the odds for how much, what you can get, and it's pretty similar, and it's kind of what you would expect. The Epic Trainer is the hardest thing to come by. However, it's worth pulling everything just for the fact that there's a Lilith there. If you pulled, say, 36 and you managed to get both the bennies, and the only thing you had left was two of the 4-star trainers, 4-star tokens, sorry, or even just like 3-star trainers, it's still worth doing those last 2 pulls just to get Lilith, in my opinion. Lilith is actually a pretty good grab. Now we'll go over to the wheel, and the wheel is 100 tokens per pull. Now the range of the aquamarine necklaces is from 50 to 350, as you can see in the odds here. It gives 50 up to 350, and every single one seems to have exactly the same chance, 10% on every single one. I'll try and calculate how many pulls we could probably get from this over the course of the 3 weeks, but it's going to be very much an estimate, very much a guess. It could be much higher, but it will be at least a minimum, as long as you hit certain tiers. So we're going to go over to the forum post to check that out, and that's going to break down how the tier system works and how the entire event is going to work. So as we can see here on the forums, Kelly Shane posted an update. I'll link this in the description if you want to check this. And it's got a nice banner image, and it says, "In the apocalypse, your faction isn't just a group, it's your family. We know how important these relationships are, and for the first time, we have created an event where when one succeeds, the entire faction reaps the benefits. Introducing the faction support event. Work together to obtain aquamarine necklaces for our limited time collections that contain legendary gear, an ascendable character, and more." So obviously, you're going to be getting these Clover tokens to be able to get more aquamarine necklaces. Now the amount of aquamarine necklaces we get is quite high. Now I'm just going to scroll down a little bit so I don't give it away too much. And it says the global leaderboard will show the number of Clover tokens gathered as a faction. Collect Clover tokens by participating in events such as tournaments, roadmaps, offers, premier recruits, and coin sales in the shop. The number of Clover tokens gathered will determine your faction's tier and amount of aquamarine necklaces rewarded at the end of each week. Now this is where it works a little bit like Rise to Power, but not fully like Rise to Power. So as you can see here, here's the tier system. I'm going to try and get this central. There you go. And it's tiers 1 to 8. Gather between 1 and 1,000 Clover tokens as a faction, and you get 250 aquamarine necklaces each. And this is just in each week, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, up to Tier 8, which is 10,000 Clover tokens as a faction. Aquamarine necklaces were rewarded to everyone in the faction is 7,000, which is, 2 and a bit. Is it 2 and a bit? Yeah, it's just under 3 GPS, just under 3 canteens, which is actually pretty nice. If you did that for all 3 weeks, you'd nearly get enough for Lucas. So that we're going to get tons of aquamarine necklaces here, which is great. And it is really nice the fact that the more, let's say the top 60% of a faction is generally stronger than the bottom 40%. And the fact that those guys can help the bottom 40% doing like much more is awesome. I really like that, and that's where I want to focus on is you're not competing against other factions here. You're just working with your own faction just to hit these tiers. That's it. You're not competing against other factions. You know, it isn't like you have to get a certain points, like, and if they get higher, they get more than you. It's nothing like that. It's just you, which sounds like a really nice idea. It's something, I'm going to be honest, I wish Faction Assault worked like this, in terms of it was everyone's getting the same rewards, everyone's working together for the same goal, and I think majority of people probably would love Faction Assault to be that way. I definitely would. I think Faction Assault in its current state needs tweaking. It really does need tweaking, because I don't want to go on a tangent, but Faction Assault, I think, is probably caused the most that I've seen in faction fighting that I've ever seen out of anything. And it's meant to be something that's more meant to be unifying. And that's something that this seems to be. Everyone's going to be working together to try and give everyone else as much rewards and themselves as much rewards as possible. Now we'll look at event schedule here, and it's going to last 3 weeks. It started today, and the first week ends obviously on the 14th. Then the 14th is the second week start, and then ends on the 21st. Then it's the 21st, and then until the 28th, and then the entire event lasts until the 31st. Now you're going to have a couple of days to decide if you want to. I'd hand them in as soon as possible. Unless your roster space is a problem and you are going to save the trainers from the stash. As you can see, the stash is here. Unless you are going to save these trainers, maybe wait a little bit, but don't mess up and not hand in. That's the most important bit. The biggest reward is going to be the weekly rewards, you know, the handouts, the payouts based on your faction's tiers. But this is just a small bonus. I think the stash is pretty nice. It seems pretty cheap as well. And obviously the Clover token wheel seems pretty decent as well. I mean, from the Clover tokens, as I said, I'll try and guesstimate. Let's say you hit 10,000 every single week. So that's 30,000 as a faction. Oops, there we go. 10,000 every single week at tier 8. That's 30,000 as a faction over the 3 weeks. 30,000 divided by 30 obviously is 1,000. And you're maybe going to use, what, 380 tokens? Okay, it looks like you're going to be maybe, as long as you hit in high numbers, you're probably going to be getting 4 to 5 pulls on the wheel, which isn't anything too bad. The majority of the aquamarine necklaces we're getting is actually from the weekly rewards. So you could get an extra, what? Let's say you got 350 every single time. You could maybe get an extra 2,000. I mean, that's not going to happen. But you could probably get an extra, you know, 500 to 1,000 aquamarine necklaces on the wheel. I'd say the stash is probably the nicest thing out of that. Just in terms of, you almost get a 5-star, you get a 4-star, you get loads of trainers, you get some fodder, you get loads of tokens, Ascendance medal, sorry, and you get a Lilith. So definitely go for the stash first. Spend whatever you have left over on the wheel, and that's it. And that is it. That is it. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here, because when I first see this event, I see something new. It looks nice. I'm thinking this could potentially be nice. However, I've said this a lot of times in the past. Gateway event looked great, was great. Persona roadmaps, just trying to get loads of different things. You could get them from different areas, raids. You know, I think it was batteries, and you had a really rare chance of getting them from raids. Basically, the effort you put in, you received more. I like that a lot. Was never reused. Call to Arms was a complete region working together, basically actually like this, but instead of it being faction based, it was region based. It was a really nice concept. It didn't work great just because it did have some issues, but effectively the issues should have been resolved, but it was never reused. And that's just something that I really don't notice too often. I would say pick your side as well. A lot of people's feedback from that is quite positive, you know, from quite a negative community. That's quite positive feedback, and it's never reused. I think old things that were successful really should be looked at again. Surely the code's there, and it makes so that development time isn't spent on trying to think of new ways to entertain us, when realistically we kind of like the old ways, and these are years old now. Some people are new, never experienced those, and some people who did experience those wouldn't mind experiencing them again. I think Gateway was quite successful. I think in terms of how you accumulated things and the amount of pulls you got tons of pulls in Gateway. There was like a top prize in 5 stars, but even if you didn't get that, you got loads of gear, you got loads of stuff. In the Call to Arms event, I think we got 2 tokens on the Telltale pulls in that event, if I rings bells. We did get a 4-star character there. I mean, that could be a 5-star character now. We got some food bags, maybe some trainers. We just got extra stuff. It was something to do, something to look at, something to work towards as a region. It was kind of nice. So I hope if this is a success, which I mean, on the face value, I can't really see there being any downsides in terms of, you know, maybe if people are underperforming in the faction, it can cause a little bit of stress because someone's doing really well and other people aren't, and they think, you know, maybe, you know, I'm being let down. That's probably the only downside that I can see. But if you're in an active faction that works together, you should reap the benefits as a faction, and it'll be pretty fun, I hope. And it's going to give you loads of necklaces and potentially loads of gear, potentially a 5-star ascendable. So if this is a success, one thing I would say, please reuse it. Please, maybe not too soon, maybe like in 6 months, but please reuse this. Please go back and look at, you know, Pick Your Side, Call to Arms. And these are just ones that I really liked. Gateway. These 3 in particular were like very different, and I thought they were all quite successful concepts, and 2 of them in particular were executed very well. Gateway and Pick Your Pick Your Side, where you could choose Dwight or Jesus. Both of those were flawless in terms of how it was executed. The Call to Arms was executed a bit badly. It had issues, but the concept was a nice idea in terms of a whole region working together. Anyway, that's the end of the Lockdowns rants. That's the end of this video as well, guys. Tell me what you think. You know, we're going to get potentially tons and tons of aquamarine necklaces here. It looks like just a bonus side thing for the actual aquamarine. I'm saying actual aquamarine necklace event. So it's just a bonus for me personally. I'm just going to try and get as many as I can, help my faction as much as I can. But that's it, guys. That's the end of this video. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving. Keep on surviving.